Good evening, John. How are you, mate? I hope you can hear me. Good evening, John. How you doing, my friend? Getting all ready for tonight. Right. We seem to be live. So I'm going to turn my volume down on this one. Good evening, John. How you doing, my friend? Getting all ready for tonight. Right. We seem to be live. So I'm going to turn my... There we go. Good evening, Wendy. Good evening, John. Start that again. Hope everyone's fine, happy, all good. All right, mate. I'm all here, I hope. Most of me anyway. We shall see. There we go. Good evening, Derek. Michael, good evening to you, sir. All ready for a good evening's painting, I hope. We shall see. We shall see. I'm always happy, John. I'm always happy. Right, well, we're climbing up and we are still a minute or two away, so we got good. Hopefully we'll break 20 tonight and we'll have a good viewing and a good innings. Right, we're still sitting at 8, mind you. It's only just 7, so we're good. We're in good shape. How's everybody? I hope everybody's good and everyone's had a great weekend. I know I've been a busy one. I've had a lot of fun, which is always nice. Just reading, making sure I'm not missing anybody. Michael, I hope you're good. Derek, I hope you're doing okay, my man. Yeah, she's, this is Orinoco, Wendy. This is Sailing Barge Orinoco. And I painted most of them, well, those that I've seen, I've painted several times. I love painting them, and I thought I'd just turn this one around and paint it in a different direction this time. It's a lovely, lovely vessel, and a bit of a different angle. Actually, 3 or 4. I'm not sure if I chose the same one as you're seeing on the picture. Almost the same, anyway. Good evening, Luke. Nice to see you here, sir. Have you been spotting trains over the weekend? I'm sure you have. Can't see that a weekend would go by where you haven't seen something. Wendy, I could tell you, but then I'd have to kill you. I'm sorry. It's a state secret how I have fun. No one but me and my conscience should ever know. Oh dear. Alright everybody, well, we are at 9 and we will start this painting off and see where we go. Quick glug before I start. Actually, I'll just pour water all over my paint. That doesn't go down too well. I'll put that there. grab a little bit of tissue. Let's take off where I drip the water. There we go, got rid of that. And we start again. Ben, good evening to you, sir. Right, okay, Thames Barge. This one, as I said to you, is Thames Barge Orinoco. Good evening, Teresa. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it too. I'm just going to have a quick measure up on this. Yeah. Doesn't, I mean, you got to keep measuring it, but basically wherever I set off on here, the mast is almost the same as there. It's almost a square. I'm going to where it touches the deck, not through, but... Jean, good evening to you from California. Nice of you to join us, and I hope you're having a very special day and warm and nice in California. We've had a lousy day, full of wind. It's awful. But yeah, it's one of those. Piccadilly, I missed that one, Paul. How could you ever joke about killing Wendy? She is lovely and will, I'm sure, get her own back for that comment. I'll stop winding it up, John. You know damn well she will. You're just trying to cause me more trouble. And stop going on about it, Wendy. All right? We know. We know. All right, okay, what I thought I'd do tonight to start with for those who are here, of which there are 12. Oh, my phone just made a funny noise. John will appreciate that when you got a search on for your favourite train locomotives and one comes up in eBay. Dear, more money. Gonna start selling some more paintings to pay for the more locomotives. Right, I thought tonight I would just go through my palette for everybody to see and understand a little bit of what I'm painting. Now, I'm gonna stop saying Does anyone know an anti tablet that I can take? It would really be helpful to me. Okay, right. So I'm just selecting a few brushes to work with to get me going. Okay, so these brushes, these paints. Now the thing is that this is predominantly my normal, how shall I say, palette. And I thought that I would just go through those that I normally have on here as well as the extra ones. No, it's only just come on, John. I'm really grateful. Otherwise you lot can just go and talk to each other while I go and bid. Oh dear. Right, okay, so mostly these colours are what I normally put on my palette, but there are one or two extra ones and I'll explain why they're there later on. Okay, yeah, I know, I do worry about it, but it's there. Right, well, I'm going to have to start looking into those issues. Wendy, thank you very much. I appreciate, John, what you said, not to worry about it. There's not a lot I can do about it. If I keep saying it, I keep saying it. It's just one of those things that hopefully I can learn to stop doing it. All right. So we get this painting done at some point. These are the colours that I normally use, okay? The first one is going to be ivory black. Now, I put that in there for pretty much one reason only, and that is to mix with lemon yellow on occasions when I'm painting landscapes. So it makes a great distance green. That's the only reason that's there. The next colour is burnt umber, and it's the one that I use to draw with as well. and that to me is very, very important. So that is a big one on my palette. Here is a favourite of mine, both in oil and in watercolour, and that is Indian Red. Indian Red's a bit like a terracotta, but it's quite a cool, quite a bluish colour red. So it works very, very well, especially when you want thundery type clouds. Now I appreciate that. Thank you very much for that. I will still look at the issue though, Wendy. Thanks. This one is a fairly new colour for me. Oh, good heavens! I do apologise. Let's have a few ums. Okay, right. So let's get back to the plot. This is a fairly new green. I've always pretty much used Thames green, and I still do on occasions, but I felt that this one was worth giving a go, and I love it. This is Cobalt Turquoise. This is a beautiful turquoise colour, and it really works, and I love it as a green. So I use that pretty much extensively right now. Good old favourites is the ultramarine blue and my cobalt blue. These two I use all the time. This is a fairly newcomer in the last couple of years for me. This is Thames blue, which worked along the Thames green when I have it on here. But you can very much get the green by adding one of these yellows to it, and it turns it that way. Magenta. I use that magenta instead of yeah, those times it's cool. I didn't notice until you started mentioning it. I'm sorry, John. Now you're going to pick on all the kids. Okay, so magenta, I use that instead of alizarin crimson. Now, lots of schools of thought. Alizarin crimson and magenta are both transparent colours, but there was issues with transparency, with longevity of alizarin crimson. You do get one now called permanent alizarin, but the original alizarin was quite fugitive, so it could alter. So I use magenta. This red is my main bright red, which is cadmium red light, and this one is a bit of an interloper at the moment. It's naphtha red. It's slightly cooler than this one. Works well. This one sitting at the top is another interloper I'm just trying out as well. This is Rose Madder. A lot of watercolours use it, and it's got a good place in a watercolour palette. I've never really used it as an oil painter, but I'm going to give it a go. This is my yellow of choice. This is Cadmium Yellow Deep. You can, of course, insert between the Cadmium Yellow, medium or light. All they're doing is one is zooring towards the red, one is zooring towards the cool. This is Lemon Yellow, a lot greener than other yellows. This one is Indian Yellow, and I'll explain why some of these are on here. This is Cadmium Orange. Now this is on here, it used to be on a lot. I stopped using it for a good while, and I went back to it recently because I rediscovered it makes a great work in the sky. Now as we go on, I'll tell you more about that. And this one I sometimes put on is Joan Brilliant. Now as regards colours, this one and this black are all made by Winsor & Newton. I'm telling you, yes, because that's a blue black. That's not ivory black. I said it was ivory black. It's not. It's blue black. So 1, 2, 3. Joan Brilliant is only made by them, and blue black is only made by them. And this is Cadmium Orange, which is quite a bit different to the one that Michael Harding uses. And I just like that one for that reason, because it's slightly different. Why have I got all these reds, yellows and different colours on here? Very good reason for it is because I like to have two sets of primaries. So I have a light set there, and I have a dark set, which is there, and there. So those are my two red, yellows and blues, but they convey most things. They get most of it done, but what you don't get are true blacks from those. You can't get them because some of them are opaque, some of them are semi-opaque. What you need to get good blacks is transparent colours or processed colours like you will get in printing. So what I would therefore do would be use a phthalocyanine blue, which is transparent, the magenta, transparent, and Indian yellow, transparent. Between all three of those, you're going to get the closest thing you can get to black. And you can then influence with any of those three colours more over the other to influence towards a warm black or a cool black or whatever. This one and these reds and yellows are all on here because I'm doing a lot of sunsets and sunrises at the moment. So I'm tweaking around with the oranges and blood reds and the flame reds that I can make by changing some of the reds and some of the yellows and seeing how they work. So the palette is a lot more than normal for me, but now you understand why I've got them on there. And those of you, why I've got two whites, this is titanium white, which is a very heavy man-made well, modern white. It's a very full of pigment and therefore it's very bleaching and it will be great for your highlights. This is zinc white. A lot of people, certainly in America, have gone away from zinc white in the last year, but it really is, we're lagging a little bit, I think. Someone tell me if we are okay. But zinc white is a great way of keeping colours going in here, but taking it down a little bit. It's not as full on as this one. It's a bit like a mixing white. Okay, that's why it's there. Alright, let's get back to business and let's get started on this painting. Let's just organise myself a little bit. Bear with me. Another quick glug. I hope that little bit on the paints was okay and helped you out. Bramley, good evening to you, sir. I see you joined us. Okay, now I'm going to mark where I want my boat. So I'm just going to come in and I'm going to start sketching with one of these small fill bits. It doesn't matter, small round brush, whatever it is easy for you to use. Sometimes it's nice to have an older, stiffer round brush. And for that, maybe let's, if I can find it, I can see it, I can't get my hands to it. Okay, not quite the old brush that I thought of, but nonetheless it's still a great candidate for drawing for. So I've got to decide where I want my boat. Now your boat is very central in the photograph, central both in here and at the top and to the bottom. I'm not going to do that. What I'm going to do is make my boat bigger, fills this gap easier, and it's closer to this side so that you've got more boat, more in front, less behind, so the boat's travelling into the scene. If you had the thing here, it's travelling out of the scene. It really wouldn't look good. So I'm going to put a very low horizon in, say somewhere like that. I'm just going to draw it very quickly, and you can really mark where you want this to go. You can actually say, right, I'm going to put a mark there, get your horizons about right, mark there. Use a long straight edge and do this out in the field quite a bit. We, excuse my head in the shot, but we do tend to use straight edges quite a bit when you're painting plein air. Great way of just getting the whole thing started and you know roughly where you are. Alright, I will come to use that again very soon. I know I will. I don't know what the telephone number is there, but if it's important, it could be, I'll take it off. Okay, now we know the boat is at where we want to start it now. For me, I think that I want the boat to start almost in the middle and come back this way. That will give me all that room in front, very little room at the back. So I'm going to start it there. Now I know from the photo that the front of the boat's got a slight angle to it, and it cuts through the top horizon line. And you can actually see that there's the side of the boat, which almost up to the horizon line there. And then you've got the top planks, I don't know what they call that part, and then of course you've got the sailcloth and all the rest of it there. But whatever size I make this area here now, So let's say I make it come back to, where should we go? Maybe let's say make it there. Now I've got a bit of the transom showing like so, but that's basically the length of my boat. But I know that if I want that to be about right, I've got to turn that up to there. I know that the middle of the boat is somewhere just under the horizon line, and I've also got to work out that it is working off of this. If that's the full length of the boat, then I would have said that the mast should come up around about almost 3/4 of the way up. So we've got our boat, we've got our length, there's our length. Now we know that there's where we want the mast. It is a straight line and it sort of goes down like so. And these are just very simple marks, nothing is set in stone. But that's roughly our mast. Now, is that correct? Is this too far forward? Does it have to have a lean on it? Well, I think it should have a lean on it. So, yeah, I should have done that a little sooner. So let's just give that a little lean this time. It's marginal. There's not a lot in it. But the boat has got a slight lean to one side, to starboard, and we want to give that little lean. Now, if I feel that having put this in, that it is too far forward, too far back, whatever it might be, I can easily just bring this a little forward and make this a little shorter. Something like that. And we've just given it a little bit more on the front. I don't think that's a bad idea. Bring that shape down and then it disappears down like so. Now I know that the boat, as I said, is to the top of the mast there. Then you've got a little bit of white, which I worked out is on top. And then we've got the little point there to the pennant on the top of the boat there. So now we can measure out the rest of it. We can actually look at the top. We know that roughly about, where are we? I'm just using a visual measure of the photo. Okay, that's not bad. So the back here, from here to here, about there, let's say, is the first half of where that mast is. So about there. So now I've got the one part of the mast pretty much plotted. I can actually come down with a more definite line, and then I know this top part is the secondary part that comes down, and actually should be my main mast should come this way, this side. So let's just change that just ever so slightly. Any corrections can be done, it's not a problem. But I'm just drawing in umber, and I have to admit with a brush that's rather newer than old, but let's do that. We've got that shape, and then this one comes down into this space and stops about there, and they hold up on, you can see the hoops that run up and it gets pulled up into place. And we've got the top section here which comes up at an angle and meets level with the top of that top part of the white part there. And now we've got to look at this, and this I'm going to give this a bit more guesswork, to be honest with you. I'm coming out from the bottom of where the second part of the mast comes to. I'm going to come out almost in a straight line, and I'm going to look for something that to me is about eye friendly, I suppose. I can do two things. I can do that, or I can use and put my straight edge onto the angle, and I can bring it down. Now if I can't quite work that out, and I think we're not far off, I could actually use it and do it in the same way as you are doing, how should we say, a clock dial. You can look at that on a clock dial and say, well, that's about 10 past the hour, and we can put that angle in and we can work it out quite easily from that. We also know that the spar that supports that rear boom, whatever it's called, I know we've had this lesson from Ben before, but then we can have that bar coming down like so, and we've got that one. So now we're starting to form certainly the structure of our Thames barge. If not the sails, we can put the sail in here. It starts above there and comes round, and there's sky through the middle, and it comes up just off of that rear boom, here, like so, and then ties to there, and you've got a lovely scoop coming in from that point there. And again, you can adjust your drawings. This is pretty clued up, pretty close, but we can always change it. Now let's look at the transom of the boat. Let's come in and let's just look at this shape here. We have moved it from there, so let's take that off. Let's come back down here, and across here there's a slight lean on it, and it is equidistant of the rudder. So there's a large rudder plate that comes down into the water about there, and the rear of the boat, I've lost my zest. There you go. Right, bit of rag, bit of paper. So the rear of the boat is quite scalloped out. Now my first part here, if I'm honest, and this part are not quite right. So we can actually see that there is a curvature to this. There is a slight side here more than we can see that side. That's partly because we got a foreshortening created by this rudder. So what we see this side is a little less, but there's like an arc. It comes down. It's very shallow, but there is definitely a shape that emanates from there, comes down in a slight curvature to the outside of each part of the boat, and then the shape comes down very shallowly, very shallow, because the water is dark under there, and you can see that that is scalloped out, and there's the water line just somewhere about there, and you can see the rudder going into the water line somewhere about here, and then of course you get the wake off the back, which we can just indicate quite easily. Now we've got this other mast, much shorter, and it's sitting roughly there. So if you just use all the little points that you've got, we've got our line in, which is running through here, something like that, and it is almost to the top of that rear of the boat. But now we're plotting this, so we're going to come up here with a straight line ish, and that will be that rear area of this, and then it comes up here like so, and then there's the bottom section through here like so. Now you can plot this quite easily. You can see the way that the superstructure on top of the boat goes off like so, and you can see there's a small gap between there, and you can see that it extends just not that far, just about to there, may not even be that far off the end of this part of the boat like so. Now you've got to check, have I got this the right size? You may have to change something in a little while, but I think we're pretty much on it. I think that here we need to have slightly different angles, a slightly steeper angle, and I think that comes down and scoops into there like so. Slight change on that, but I don't think we're too far out, and I think that because of that, that comes down, and that starts maybe just a little taller. It's almost at the top of that before it starts to come back down and meet that bottom pole. Alright, so we're there, and that's got a little line to there. So we've got this big sail to do. So we're going to bring it down, and it's coming off the point of that mark up there on the top of that pole, and it comes down. It almost meets into there, almost. So let's bring it down, a slight curve in as it comes down, and then it starts to come back out and comes down into the bottom of the boat. Is that accurate enough? I think it's not far off, but small adjustments can be done. James, good evening, mate. I didn't see you come in. Thank you for joining us. Alright, so let's just take that down, and we can't see but a little bit of the top of the water about there. That's all you can see of it, so we know we're pretty much in the right place. So let's just bring this sail down, 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 and we're going to bring the boat down and a lovely arc coming down through. And I've missed it, look at that. So let's just get this about right. Just drawing and just taking my eye off the ball a little bit there. Let's just come in, straighten that up, and just carefully do the drawing of the side of this boat like so. I think that's probably about it. There is a little bit of white that we can put in, which is part of the structure, and then that sort of, this can come up a little higher, I think, this part here. So let's rub that out and let's bring that up a little higher, let it come down on the sheet, and that turn into there, and that just comes into that area of white. And if you're not sure about the white, let's just put a little bit of white in there. Well, you saw that it disappeared into the brown because I used zinc white. If you're not too sure, just put in a little bit of white just to tell you that that's where that is. Don't have to, it's just there as a guide. And we've got to look now, we've done this, we're going to check one or two things. I think that we've got that line about right. Just going to straight edge that from there to there so that it does look about right. Okay, so it's a little bit off there. Or was I off there? I don't know, I think I actually was in the right place. I'm going to rub that back. The nice thing about this canvas, this is one that I use a lot these days, which is canvas, which is a natural canvas, and it's a one that is easily available from the SAA. You can get it in other countries too, I'm sure, but it's just a nice one. And I'm going to bring that to there and bring that down through there, and that will tie up there. Alright, I think that's probably about that section done. Now, as I said, my boat should be, just measuring it from the tip to there, should be from there to there, and we're on. Okay, so we know that this is correct. And you've got to check it. I mean, it's no good saying that whatever the boat's doing, that is that. If the boat was skew round more, you'd still have the height, but you'd have much foreshortening on here. So you've got to be careful. Just check all those dimensions. But normally, if you've got a side-on boat, almost side-on, it is about there to there, as it were. Let's continue that line on up through to there, and look to see where this starts and stops. So it's just above the other one, and that one is coming down through there like so. Get that shape. And then we've got the front foremast foresail coming down there, and it hooks up into the bow very close to that. Now there is another sail through there. You can see that is another vessel that's behind this one. I'm not going to bother trying to put that in, but I will of course put in the little boat that's here. Very quick drawing, doesn't need to be too much. So just put a little shape into a vessel there, and we know that it's got a couple of whitish sails. We'll put that in like so. Drawing's done. That didn't take much at all. And there is land through here. Now I'm not quite sure what the headland is here. I'm just going to simply draw in a shape. It's got a bit of trees and stuff on the front. I can't work out the position we were in at this point because it sort of feels like it should be Whitstable, but it's on the wrong side. So I'm not quite sure whether this is sort of Minsterish or something else. I'm not too sure, to be quite honest with you. But never mind, we'll get there. Now I think I've already gone off my line. So let's just get that back in. I want a fairly straight line for my horizon. Like so, or was it lower? No, I think it was there, wasn't it? Easily lost, look at that. Easily done. But we'll get there, and even if it's slightly off, you're not going to notice it. What you don't want is it tipping down like that. And let's just put very quickly in another boat which is almost up on that line, and we're going to make it come striking all the way through that headland. So I'm going to bring it to there. Nice red sail on the front, which will make a lovely thing, and then a nice broad sail of white on the back, and we can bring the boat to there, something like that, quite like that. Okay, we can play around with the idea of that. We've got a headland, as I say, I'm not quite sure. I think it could be a little higher at this point, because I did muck about with the horizon line. I'm going to bring that through there, down, and there. Alright, now our clouds, well, that's the whole thing. I don't need this little brush to sketch those in. I will go back to the brush that I had in my hand earlier. I'm just going to indicate this is a nice cloud that's coming up through. I'm going to make it a little bit more maybe than it suggests in the photo. And I'm going to really look forward to this. I just love playing around. I actually haven't put the bottom of the boat in yet. We mustn't forget the bottom of the boat, otherwise it will sink. Just one or two taps, a few suggestive marks, maybe something up through here. I'm constantly dipping into the umber. It would be nice to take that there, take that all the way through there. So this actually could come a little lower. Bring that to there, and let's make it step up and continue on through this area here. And it thins off a little bit and then carries on getting a bit deeper as it's building. So it's a lovely line of potential rain circling around as it does. A lot of grey day out on the water. I've been on several of these, so I can't actually remember what year this was. I know I've been out on really blisteringly hot days where all you want to do is jump off the boat that you're in into the sea and just cool off. It's been that hot. And then I've been on other times when you're holding on to whatever you can hold on, because the seas are flipping in your face, the wind is howling, it's pushing you all everywhere. Holding on to your camera or your paintbrushes is a flipping nightmare, to say the very least. And I've been on days where there's hardly a breath of wind and everything's just sitting there. They want to move, they want to race, but there's not a breath of wind. And it's really frustrating for them. Good for me, because I get lots of photo opportunities and painting opportunities. So there you go. Right, I'm just going to finish off that little sketchy area there, and we will just come back to the small brush, and I will come back and just suggest the front of this boat here. Slight angle to it. You can see the anchor sitting almost at the bottom on top of the water there. Starts to curve as there. That's coming down and starting to lift a little bit on the side. You've got the planing board that comes down at an angle. This is partly dropped at the moment, as you can see. Normally they are sitting level at the top here, I believe. This one is slightly dropped, purposely of course, to allow the stabilization of the vessel in the water, so that obviously it just doesn't turn turtle and end up the wrong way up. And that's going to come down and into that area through there. Just check the line, because it's going to be even. It will not be going uphill, it will still be an even line through here and joining up with that stern section. And just double check other things, like this plane is coming down and into the water, and it may be not that thick, so let's just drop its size a little bit. Nice deeper ridge through there, get that line. It's going to be slight difference, but it's not need to be too much. So let's just take a line through there, and join it up into what will be the rudder at the back. That's the last part you see. Something like that. Not far off, not so bad, not shabby, we're good. Alright, now we can start painting. Yes, Teresa, do pop in and say hello. We'd love to see you. We all miss you at class. And you know you're welcome back at any time to join in. I know we had a discussion before on the matter. And by all means, if you feel that you'd like to come back in at any time, slot right back in. You'd be so welcome. Alright, let's crack on with this. Now for that cloud, I'm going to be using some ultramarine blue, a little bit of the Indian red, and I'm going to come in with some zinc white and just take that down a little bit. It's quite a violet, as you can see, but it's not as strong a violet if I'd used a magenta into that, but I can take it down even more by adding just a little bit of orange into that. It really changes the dynamic of that blue-grey. Don't want too much. If you've got too much, you can come back in with a bit more blue. You don't want it to look orange. What you do want to do is a really dirty colour, and that's not so bad. That really does work quite well. So I'm just going to plaster this all over, and I'm going to go to a bigger brush because we'll be here all night otherwise. So I'm going to come in with a nice, look at that, nice brand new filbert. This is a number 4 from Rosemary, and I'm going to come back in and I'm going to use all of that paint up with this first pass, I'm sure, just here. I'm not going to get very far with it, so I'm going to need to mix a whole lot more. I'm going to put a little bit of zester into the, not zester, a little bit of thixotropic liquid into that, a bit more Indian red into there, some more white just to take it back. We need more red. We're starting to mix it to where we want it. Tap of that orange as I did just now, and let's see where that is. I think we need it to be a little paler still, a bit more red. And it's just keep mix until you're roughly where you are. Easier to mix here than it is to keep painting over and replacing somewhere else. Check it out. That's a bit darker, but we can live with that. We can come back in and let's kind of mix up some of these colours at the base. Now I'm not sure how long this painting is going to take to do. If I am nowhere near ending this by the time the 2-hour sort of gong goes, then I'm proposing that I hold it over and we continue it on the following week. I don't know how people feel about that. I don't want to rush it, but at the same time it could take much longer than 2 hours to get it looking great, or how I would like it to be. So we'll play it by ear and see how we're going towards the end of the session. Bit too much red coming into that. I can play that out and come back in with some blue. This time I'm going to come in with some titanium white to knock it down and put some more orange into that blue to really give it a bit of a threat. Let's come back in and wipe some of that off. Good thing about this particular surface that it is quite amenable to taking a little bit of paint out and start carrying on painting again almost immediately without a problem. Not all surfaces will allow you to do that. Just want to take some of this down a bit more. Bit of a cheeky Joint Brilliant going into there, which will turn it a bit of a greenier grey, but I think that's got good purpose in this instant. Quite happy to do that. Just going to come through there, taking it out through this side, so we have a continuation of colour down here, down here. I want it quite dark in here so that it can see moss and other bits and pieces, but very, very quickly it will become much paler. So I'm going to come in with some more blue, a little red, a bit more red, and let's just take that off out through the top there, and let's just take that into the top of the mast, into the top there, go through where the pennant will be. I'm not too worried about that. We can bring that all back to being later on. I've got this little beetle running across my palette. I do hope he has the sense to avoid the paint. Right, let's take that off there and up through here. Lots of variety of colours now, and this is where the bigger brush, the nice filbert, gives you a lovely soft edge, so you can use that to your advantages. No, they don't, as far as I know. They're flat-bottomed, Ben. The reason they're flat-bottomed is so they can travel up on the rivers from the sea, of which there are a number down the east coast. The Thames are included. They can travel up, and as tide goes out, they can rest on the bottom of the mud without turning, keel over, whatever. They may well be still hauling produce, coal, fabrics, whatever it is they used to carry. But when they finish their day, they can come in and they can navigate these mud rivers, you know, from Ipswich down, as it were, all the way down around the southeast, and Whitstable, all these places, and they say they can travel up where other boats just can't get, and they don't take a big draft, so therefore they can get right up there, key up, unload to places where other boats just can't make it, and that's what made them so needy, as it were, so valuable in their day. Of course, now with the onset of modern road systems, we don't need the likes of them. The railway lost out predominantly to traffic and all these things. Anyway, I digress. But yes, they are flat-bottomed, and that's why they need those plain boards to keep them upright on heavier seas when they're carrying full sail. And to think all of these were done and run by just a little father and his son, you know, or a couple of sons, whatever. Generally 1, 2 people used to work these boats. Now, of course, with health and safety and regulations, you need a certain amount in a crew before you can set sail, which is fine. It's not a problem, is it? It's just the way it is. We have a lot more regard for rules in a modern day than maybe there was during the Victorian era and Edwardian times. Just trying to get some of the sky blocked in as fast as I possibly can. There's lots of little facets to it. I want to get most of those in. But I'm really scratching her. I want the sky certainly to be very, very loose. I can't help it, I've got to say this, that although I'm not suggesting it's anything like, but I'm always influenced by Ted Seago, Edward Seago. He was the master at this type of work, and he made the Thames Sailings barge his own. It was his motif, and skies were his motif as well. The thing about Ted Seago, or Edward Seago, I should stop being rude and calling him Ted, I didn't know him personally. Mr. Edward Seago, great artist, sadly never recognised by the art establishment when he was alive, which is somewhat of a crazy situation. And even today, I don't even think that he is sort of revered by the art establishment, but he is revered by many, many bodies of artists and societies around the world for the work that he created. And I could go on talking about Ted Seago, Edward Seago, all night long, and just love it. But yes, I can't help but being absolutely sort of, when I start painting skies like this, I just got Edward Seago in my head. And why not? What a great man to follow in the footsteps of, if it were possible to be done. Anyway, I love it, and I'm just going to keep painting this sky before we start on the boat. Hope you don't mind that. I just love to get this sky right. This is a big part of this painting, is this sky, and I just feel that we need to be about right with it. I'm just going to come in with 1 or 2 other colours. And this sky is such an Edward Seago sky, I've got to say. I mean, if you went out and set out to think, oh, I want to paint an Edward Seago sky, you can't get a much better one than that. You really can't. I mean, Mr. Seago would have been out with his brushes and paints on Capricorn painting this scene, and he would be painting it from life. And mind you, he had a beautiful boat, Capricorn, to do it on, a great big wooden built sloop which he kept going up in Norfolk where his home was, and he would travel across to Europe. He would go up the Seine and other major river systems in Europe and enjoy as a sailor as well as an artist. It's a great loss. He died in 1974. He had a cancer, unfortunately. I think it was a brain thing that he had that ailed him for the last time, not part of his life. Now I've changed the sky a little bit to what we see here. I'm not worried. I've got a little bit darker coming down here, but again, I'm not too worried. I've got a bit of light round here to come in. Actually, I'm not too far out. I think I'm the wrong part of the boat. I think that could be, feels like it could be a little bit steeper up maybe. I might sort of change that in a little while, but there's quite a bit of light around the back end of this mast, so let's just put that in and put that in there as it comes down and down through there. Get that shape about right. Gone a bit quiet, I do apologise. Sometimes I do when I really am trying to concentrate on something. Anything else on the chat? No, you've either all gone home or gone to sleep. We've only got 12 watching tonight. Obviously people don't like oils and don't like Thames barges. I'm quite surprised that we've got such a few in number. Never mind, I'm having fun. That's the main thing. So let's carry on. Got a bit red, let's come across there and let's add some more back orange just to play around with those values a bit more and take that off over here. Big old sky to cover in a 16 by 12 canvas, I say. A little bit of cobalt blue wouldn't be amiss into some of that. Maybe a more influence of the cobalt in there. As that comes away from that part and then steps up and comes over, dissipates and goes into nothingness really as it sort of comes across there and into that part of the mast, like that. Okay. It may be that we've got a fewer in number because I didn't advertise this until sometime yesterday, so maybe I've got to think about getting the adverts out in everything before the day before. I don't know, there might be something in that. I mean, you guys, a lot of you guys sort of know when it's happening, so you're sort of ready for that. Even if I didn't get a chance to advertise it in time, most of you would know that there should be something going on at 7. So it's just trying to catch new people, I think, more than anything else. A little bit more yellow into that as that goes off out over here. And coming in through here too. Lots of beautiful colours going on. I'm using so many of these colours just to influence the greys and the whites, which is cracking. I love it. A bit more yellow going into this white now. And tapping into some of that grey, so they get the yellows and the greys working together really beautifully. Softening some of the edges. They're not all going to be hard. So you get some more diffused than others. Something like that. There we go. Just checking the structure of your cloud more than anything else. But don't worry that if it's not identical to the photo, that really, you know, you're using the photo as reference. It's not an actual, you know, you're not stating it, you are suggesting it. And that you have to really bear in mind when you paint. You're not stating the fact, you're merely suggesting the facts. It's your interpretation, it's your painting, and if you miss something out, you leave something out for the greater good of your work, then do that. There may be a very, very good reason why you've left something amiss. It may be it cuts through something, maybe it doesn't line up, doesn't look good. So you decide to take it out of the equation. Nothing wrong with that at all. Artists through millennia have been doing that. They change something, move things, they move the scene. Hell, they can even move whole towns to make them, not literally of course, but in their painting they can move whole towns to make it look and work better for their work. And all the great names of the past have done this in one form or another. Alright, we're getting close to the end of this top section. It might be that in the cool light of day tomorrow I might decide to just change one or two factors. I've gone and found that flipping white again, Wendy, the stiff tube. It's coming awful. It's really causing me a problem. May have to just stop in a second and change the white paint. There's a couple of tubes that I got hold of from my supplier that have come out very, very stiff. They're lacking, I think, a lot of pigment, but not enough binder, material in them to make them work properly. Anyway, well, I'll keep going as long as I can, not a problem. Let's come down here and I put in a lot more yellow, a little bit more Joint Brilliant into some of this cloud down through here. Yeah, you can see it's very, very sticky. Bear with me, people, I'm just going to find another tube of white paint. This, I know, is a different tube. Hopefully it will act differently. We hope. Right. That's very, very sticky, and I just don't like how sticky that is. Let's take a piece of towel, let's take some of that away. Doesn't cause me too many problems. Okay, Sylvia, nice of you to join us. I take it you've got to shoot through, but nice of you to stop by. And it will be playing. Oh, look at that paint, so much nicer. Yes, definitely a sticky batch there. I don't like it. Must mark that tube. Yes, as I was saying, Sylvia, thank you, and hopefully catch you during the week, and hopefully you'll enjoy more of this. I wanted to put in these little areas of lovely white puffy clouds in the far distance. I'm just going to suggest a few marks. Nice big bubbly white clouds that are pumping up in the very, very far distance over here. I'm just going to mark them at this point. I'm not going to do too much. They are coming underneath that, the body of that cloud, and down through here too, like that. And just leave it for now, and we'll come back into it. I don't know. It's a very hard one. I've not tackled this problem with them before, Wendy. I'll have a chat. Yes, I will be putting a lot more colour in than the reference picture, Ben. My pictures, I've got another one which I could have flicked to, which is more saturated, different exposure. I just happened to find this one first and put it up to use. But it's not, doesn't make it right, of course, but I'm putting my own bent onto what I see. Alright, and that's going to come in here, maybe a touch of the Thames blue into that, just to give that a bit of a fresher blue look down through here. I'm going to bring that all the way through. Now this is going to work beautifully with those red sails when it gets painted. A little bit of light in there as it comes down. Just got to bear in mind it's got a little contaminated, but we will sort that out. And take that all the way up to there, like so. and it comes and travels all the way down through here too. Now I'm going to have to come over with a neat paintful brush full of that later on, but I just want to get that in and out through the bottom here, through the top of this water. And it does get a bit cooler, so let's come back in with some other blue now, some cobalt and a little bit of cobalt, a little bit of ultramarine blue on top of both. Just getting a little bit too yellow there, so I'm just going to take some of the pressure out of that and bring that back to a cooler blue and underneath as well. And while we do that, we'll look at that and at the same time try and cool them off. And all the way up to there, take that away. There you go. And that will just start to build into this cloud system in the distance. Really a beautiful little colour blue that's peeking out from the horizon, as it were. Just trying to level out that brown so I don't get too much going on in there as we move forward, and taking that same colour all the way over the headland, just coming around the boat so I don't lose the boat in any way. And again, let that start building into that sky above. Now, there's all sorts of different bits here. There's different dark blues, different colour blues. They're going off and creating their own series of cloud and forms in the distance, and we've got to try and legislate for that too. We want these clouds, they're there. If this lot are coming this way, these are the ones that are coming up ready to take their place further on. So we need to build those in, and they've got to look about right, of course. You could just be painting the sky tonight there. You know that, don't you? We're an hour in, I only started the boat. I didn't realise that how I should have perhaps made this a smaller painting, but I felt that it would be nice to do it as a big piece. And also I'm going to be thinking on doing a few wildlife pieces in the future, but because of the nature of painting wildlife in this fashion on a stream, there's no way that I can do it justice in one evening. So such things will have to be like a planned stream over a couple of weeks, which will be properly organised, and well, not organised, well, I don't organise anything, do I? But it will be certainly properly advertised as such, that it will be planned for several weeks of streaming, so that people get the idea that if they want it, they can either watch the same painting for 2 or 3 weeks until it comes to a lovely conclusion, or they can watch it on Dave later, as is their wish. Just bringing this lovely colour blue up into places, into the sky, into these other clouds, and just creating a little bit of form. Take some out of there and just put some of that blue back in there, like so. It's just trying to create and make it look very, very realistic in that sense. Actually, there's a lot of orange, there's a lot of glow in these white clouds as they're going off over here. Now that's way too much, but we can come back and we can find a happy medium, and the trick is not to overdo it too much, as you can soon become dirty and it becomes awful to look at. If we get the colours about right, and we're not going to be far off. It's more peachy than orange when I look at it. That's very orange. Let's get rid of that. Helps with the glow too, to be honest. We get a little less orange up here, but nonetheless there's still an influence. Okay, let's clean the brush out. I don't think so, Ben. I don't get enough time to do the painting as I want without trying to do 3 of the same one in different stages. That is not going to happen. Right, let's look at our bit of blue sky that there is. Let's come in with some phthalo blue only. Let's just look at that. I'm going to tweak a little bit of cobalt into that, just to tame it down a little bit. I'm just going to punch that through. It comes through this part of the sail cloth and down this side of the mast, just through here. Taking that off in a nice lump into the base of that cloud is going into it, and also into this part here. And then it gets a little bit beefier as it comes down. A little bit deeper blue. Maybe that's a better strength. And also to hold it in, actually a little bit of orange. Now that you might think, oh my lord, what's he doing? But actually that little orange will hold in that blue in a bit of corruption going on there, but that will hold that blue in place. It goes a little bit on the green side, but it is not far. It's better than you think it is. Looks a bit horrible as it sits, but you've got to get the eye, get used to it. You will get used to it. Coming through here, let's just bring some of that on and back into that space again. Bit of contamination from the brown, not a problem, you can sort that out later. You can just go back in and tweak 1 or 2 of them. Let's take that all the way through. Now I'm going to come in with a bit of the orange into a little bit of cobalt, ultramarine blue. Just see how that looks. No, that's wrong. Let's come back to that one. Mix it up well. Okay, not bad, but we need some white into that. Just a little bit of zest it to make it move. That's better. Okay, so let's bring it up where we want it along that corridor of cloud there. And there. And let's bring that down into what's going on. I do apologise. Okay. Bear with me, people. I must sort out the way that these cameras are running, because without recording they seem to want to go off after a certain period of time, which is not good. Yeah, well that's what I plan on doing, Wendy. If I can make it happen, it would be great. I really like the idea of it. I can take that into there, like so. 1 or 2 strikes of blue through there in the clouds. Yeah, I like the idea of doing something in wildlife for a change. I haven't done anything in a form of a stream for wildlife ever, and I've done very little filming of wildlife other than when I was working for the company in Liverpool. But it would be nice to maybe do the both and see how it goes. The trouble with doing a film for them is that the film would end up many hours long. And I don't know if people would worry about coming back and worry about seeing a film over 3 or 4 times. Now that's interesting. So let me know, guys and girls, what you think about that. Would you, if you wanted to watch a nice film about how to paint something in wildlife form, would you come back if I did, I don't know, let's say 3 40-minute episodes on film, or again maybe 2 or 3 live streams a couple of hours long? Would you get bored with it, or what? Give me your thoughts, because that's quite an interesting proposition. I'm going to use a little bit of the blue, a bit of the Indian red. Just going to play around with some of these blue violets, and I just want to increase the blue content. So let's just come back in and suggest a bit more blue, a little bit more colour into some of the lower parts, the heavier parts of this cloud. Still got to deal with 1 or 2 areas as well that need to be a bit lighter. So I'm going to come in and I'm going to lighten up, not that far there, a bit too much. Just take that way a little bit, see how that plays around. Just a bit too light. So I'm going to muck about with these colours. Try a little bit of natural red into there. Tap of the orange. See how that works. Well, it's not as blue I was hoping for. So let's just come in with a bit of the orange again, a little bit of the blue, and see how that works. I'm still not totally convinced with that, but we'll work with it for the moment. Let's just see. It's certainly good enough for some of these areas down through here. Let's just take that up to there, into that cloud there. Okay, it's a little bit of a hint underneath this cloud, just a little bit of coloration of the purple violet colour there. And yeah, okay, well, it's food for thought, John. I'm not saying I will or I won't yet. It's food for thought. I'm going to try a little bit of green into my blues and take them the other way, away from the red. Cool them off with the cobalt green. See how that looks. I like playing around with some of these blue greys. That's quite nice actually. Gives a nice sense of light across there. Interesting. Okay, that's good. Okay, well, I'm noting your thoughts down as they come in, and I'm not saying what I'm going to do yet, or even if I will, but we shall see how we go. I'll take that off over there. I think I actually want to bring that up a little bit more, so I'm going to take that there. Let that line through there. I'll come back into that in a moment. Give that a definite line through the bottom there. Take that off. Right. Okay. Just checking some of my marks, some of my lines, adjusting some of the colours maybe in the cloud and the forms and the shapes. And the nice thing is with this that you can do all of this and then you can come back in the morning and it's still wet, hopefully, to carry on doing a bit more and play around with some of the shapes and marks that you've made to make sure that you're happy before you move on. Nice tail of this cloud that is breaking off. Like so. Maybe a little bit more distance between some of the ones that I've made, or shorter on others. But it's not a big deal, not a big problem. Okay, now I need to come back in and do what I was going to do on this area here, because I've got a little bit lost there. Let's just come back in with a bit of orange. Strengthen that. Bit of that blue that we were using, and a bit of the colour grey into that. A little bit of cooler blue. into one or two of those shapes. My brush is very wet and that's not helping. Okay, I'll live with that for a minute. I may have to carry on building that a little bit in a minute. That's way too strong, so I need to treat that down. That's gone too green. I know it's gone too dark. I can see it's gone too green. Let's take some away from that area. A little bit of red into that. Bit of that blue there. Just play around with your colours until you're happy that you've got the look that you seek. And I'm changing the brush marks. When I come into these clouds that are way off, I'm changing from that motion, which is a lot of this, to a sort of up and down motion. It's suggesting that they're moving and bubbling up in the picture. And yeah, to me that works because you're bubbling up. Right, so okay, I'll leave that at that point for the moment. Let's just see if we can. There's still more work to be done. This is why I'm saying it's not finished by a long chalk on the sky, but I'm enjoying where it's going. But we're way off being done. A bit more blue violet going on in there. And take this line all the way up into here. Got a bit more phthalo to it. And a bit more white. Come on. Get a grip. Take that over there and marry the two areas together. Take that up there too. And that starts to pump away and go off. And we've lost a bit of shape there. We've just got to get that back in. We can come in and tweak the sky in this area later, but let's just get the side of that mast, that sail back in. And of course this one. Right, so I'm going through that area because I want the two areas to become one area in terms of colour value. So that's the best way to achieve that. A little bit of dirt on the canvas. And the clouds are bubbling, but they're not as noticeable. So I'm just coming in with a faint orangey looks as they're bubbling up. Larger one here, of course. Just very gentle motions, little taps, little soft taps. Come back in and reassess this area here. Got a little bit lost on the edge of that pole. Let me just bring that up, and that cloud at the top of it is extending quite a way up into here. I'm going to put that back in. Something of that nature, I think. Maybe just a few taps of brighter lights through there and there. Keep seeing little marks, little shades of colour that are working through this blue. Horizontal clouds of some sort that are coming through this cloud. This big cloud is bubbling up behind them. You can see it's quite fierce. And just, if you're going to save some real punchy whites, yellow whites, just save them for here, because that can really push this one up. That's a quick dab, real big statement of colour. Be bold, not timid. Okay, let's do that there for now. Then full-length videos can easily be scanned fast forward to get to the part you want, and all the instructional detail will be available. Better use shortened ones with speeded up sections. I tend to agree with you, Ben. I really do. People like shorter videos in this modern day. They don't have the time to sit down as some of us do and to really watch long videos. They like to watch them on the hoof, as it were. I know when I'm watching some of the train ones, I love to see a short one. I don't always have the time to watch a long one. Of course I will, and the more interesting the content, of course, the more of it I will watch. But invariably, you know, you get to a point when you have to start to cherry pick those that you follow for those that you don't really bother with. And it's not normally how I would like to do it. I'd like to have the ability to enjoy all that I watch, and yeah, I suppose I've got to take a lesson from that in my own work and see how it will be best done moving forward. I just lost a little bit of light through here. I want to put that back in, so let that join and let it go over the top and into that section. Okay, now is this light enough? Just bring that light up a little bit. And does that help? I don't know if that's actually helping you or not. It may not. We shall see. I can see it quite well. I'm going a bit dry. Right. Now I suppose I ought to stop procrastinating and get on with a bit of this boat, shall I? Let's start doing that, because the colour difference will start really making this pop more as well. And I can work into these clouds much more later on. Okay, now the trick is, let's get rid of some of this. Let's make some room on the palette, so you can see some of my colour mixes. And again, I can either finish this later, or I'll just finish the painting tonight and carry on with it myself on another day in the quiet of day, as it were, and just show you the finished product next time we speak to each other on a stream. I don't mind which way I do it. I really don't. It's a lot of fun whichever I'm doing. Okay, so let's go in now. We want a dark, we want umbers, so we're going to come in with a lot of umber in this, and we're going to use a bit of ultramarine blue, make it quite dark, but shifting it off the brown. Now we want to add in, what do we want to add in? I'm going to add in a little bit of Venetian red, give that really rich dark. I don't want it to come out too light to start with, but let's just see where we are with that. Quite a lovely dark. Let's take that up to the top there. Nice straight line down, and I said I was going to change the angle of that. I'm going to do that. I'm going to bring that to that angle. Right, so, and take that down this mast. This is the shallow side of our vessel, and it's going to come all the way down here to this point when we know that the shape starts to come round and down. Still using the big brush at the moment. Believe you me, it won't stay that way. I think this could actually come down a little further and then come a little slimmer. I got a little bit carried away with the extent of how wide that is. Yeah, that's better. That works for me. Let's take that lovely big bellowy sweep of the sail. It scoops in like a snake and then comes down and around here. I'm going to take that down to this boom here. Where anything on the thing windy, especially if there's a fascinating subject like wildlife. Hint, hint. Yes, 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 yes. Yes, well, long-minded people can watch his stages. Yeah, it's one of those, because it's a case of stats, time, effort, all these things when it comes to YouTube, trying to get everything about right, and you know, content creation is great, but sometimes it's very hard to balance all the effort against the results that you can achieve. You can put a whole heap of work in and to no avail because people are just not watching what you're doing, and you think you've got it right, and it can be very quickly, it can go wrong. Just going to bring a little bit more warmth into that umber. Got a little bit cool. I'll leave that like that, and then I'm going to bring this one down here almost totally dark. So yeah, I understand the requirement by some to do something, and then you got to pit that against the outcome and what you're going to achieve from what you want to do, and sometimes sadly they just do not work out. That's my feeling on it. You know, it's like a stream. You put a lot of effort into a stream, but it's a lot of effort and it's an enjoyable effort, don't get me wrong, I'm not moaning at all, but it's a great effort whenever you're doing one, and there's a lot of concentration going on, and if only 2 people are watching it, it really isn't just not worth all that effort. And if 102 people are watching it, that is just awesome. So you know, you've got to do it. And equally, if you do a film and 1,000, 2,000 people watch it, great film. Well, for a small channel, it's a fantastic film. But for a big channel, they would think it as an abysmal failure. And that's how these things go on. A bit of blue into my red just to darken it down a tad as it comes down here. So it's not an easy one, gotta be said. Take that down through there, and that disappears. So there's pretty much our sail in terms of the darks. We can increase that, of course. But let's now look at our reds. Let's look at making this a bit of zinc white into there. Let's see where that takes. I'm going to keep it, pump it up a little bit. I'm coming in with some natural red. That keeps it very beautiful. Bit of white into that. See how chalky that makes that. So to bring that back, we can keep the light, but we can make a bit of orange into that. So now we've made a much lighter but more bright mark. So let's just look at that. And we can come back in and add to it. That's not a problem at all. Just going to bring that in very gently. I don't want to lose the edge of this sail. Shallow S to there, and it comes down a little sooner. Just want to crispen that up there a little bit. I may come back in with that very small brush that I had earlier. Now all we've got at the moment is just 2 colours of you know, dark to light, and that on its own doesn't work. So what we've got to do now is we've just got to start bringing these 2 areas to work together, but still keeping that nice bright mark. Let's try a little bit of green into that. Just takes it down a little bit. Green and red, of course, complementaries. Albeit it's a brick red and a funny green, they are still complementary to each other and will work in such a way that they will kill each other off when put together. Side by side, of course, they excite each other. But when they're married together in this fashion, then it depends upon the degree of one over the other as to which one's going to win. But it does allow you to keep colour, to make it dark, as opposed to adding tone to make it dark, such as using a black or something of that nature. And you can add light in very much the same way. That needs to be a lot darker up the top end here. I'll play around with that, but we're somewhere nearby where it should be. It is very difficult to produce continuity successful videos. Say for you think it's right, and at times we couldn't be further. Yeah, you're absolutely right, John. You know, you plan these things to the nth degree, and sometimes they just work brilliantly, and another time you just wish you hadn't taken all that trouble. That's the way of the world. You try these things out and you see if they work, and if they don't work, you learn from it, you move on. I'll leave that line there, and I'm going to bring this one down on the side here. Being very careful now, because I do not want to lose any of this into the lovely edge like that. And that's just picked up a little bit of mark going down there, so I'm going to have to play around with that edge. I'm going to have to wipe that back in. Just there and just there. Come back down, and actually I think I'm going to resort to that smaller brush. Where did I put it? There. It's going to take a little bit longer to do the job, but I've got a bit more control, because that's got a little smudged up the top there, which I really didn't want. I'm going to bring that down. Try and sharpen this line up. A lot of red into that, more terracotta than I expected. Come in with a bit of natha onto there. Try and spruce this colour up a little bit more. May have to come back in with the sky colours just to play around with some of these colours a bit more than I've got them. Quite a strong red, it's quite nice. I'm actually going to use some in this top sail. What a really strong red colour. Right, and we've got a lot of white, bit of orange, and that's all red. So I'll come down here, we've got the edge, and I'm going to use a stick that I had, just as a bit of a mould stick, just to hold my way off of the canvas so that I can rest across it and just draw this nice sharp edge of the mast that I can see going up through here. Okay. Now it's all gone a little bit too wide out there, and I can see what it's done. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to do this. Bit drastic, but it needs doing, because the drawing's gone a little bit screwy. Now I'm going to come back in and correct my mistakes, I hope. I'm going to take that line up through there and bring that one in a little quicker, and then I'm going to take that out a little further, and drop that down a little closer. All a matter of just keep trying, doing little bits. Now let's draw this. Let's come up in a straighter line from here. Right. Still not completely happy with that edge. So I'm going to do that again. If I need to come in with the blues, I will. Just need to tweak the shape of that too. Right, that's better than it was certainly. So I said I needed just to tweak the sky colour. I'm just going to do that now, so it's going to get forgotten and I'm going to regret that. Just play around with some of this blue that we had, a little bit of the orange into that. Just bring that across and try and marry the two sides together as best I can and repair. I'm just going to come in and take that all the way through there and give that a really sharp edge. Coming down, I can come in with the white areas, not worried about that, I just really need to nail the shape of this. I think that's better. So now for the little white bits that we'll put in, we can just tap them into place, and maybe a bit into there. And we've got a quick recovery on our sky at this point. Certainly I'm not unhappy with the way that that's gone on. There we go. And a little bit of shape into there and colour, which we will come back in. There's a bit more white going on in there than I've allowed. We can play around with that. Not far short on it. So I'm going to come back in with this mask stick in place again. Just want to come in here with this area here. Just want to sharpen up what we're seeing there. Clean your brush so you don't drag anything you don't want in there, and take that through there, picking up a little bit, which is probably, I suppose, inevitable. Take that off, clean that up. Clean the edge, and that's not far off. Not far off at all. Okay. So now we can carry on lifting areas up. Let's just bring that line down of light that's down this edge of this pole. It comes out into the cloth underneath. A lot of light into this at this point, because obviously the sails are pushing against the pole at this point. The wind's pushing this way, turning the boat that way, of course, and therefore this pole is getting a lot of pressure, bend, and you can see the light pushing against the pole. And the lightest part, of course, and it's a little cooler in certain places. This is going back in here. I'm going to put a little bit of coolness into some of those lights. Okay. Now there's a big strong fold that comes almost off the top of the cloth there. And then there is quite a bit of light. Now I suspect the light on this is not off the sails, but I would have said off of the mast, the pole part there, which is covered up at this point by the topsail. So I just want to suggest a little bit of light going up here to there. Then I'm going to tidy up this edge here. Darker. Still feel that this wants to come down a bit more. It wants to be darker than I'm using anyway. I'm just going to come in there a lot darker. Come on. Thank you. Come in there. Just kind of make that a little shallower than I had. I think that's better. I think that's better. I do. And it's just going to come back in with a few contrasting marks of dark radiating out from the pull of this sailcloth. It's quite a subtle light at the top. So I've destroyed that one I just had. Let's come back in and make a bit more. It's quite pale too. I think there's a lot of pale in here because it's bending at the point here a lot more, and therefore I think it's sort of the glistening on the oil on or whatever they treat the canvas with is picking up the sky above, not unlike a bit of water is picking up sky on the reverse of a ripple. So I'm just going to make that a little cooler. And it's these subtle little observations that you see and you make that just make the whole scene a little bit more believable. What I do need to do though is just straighten up underneath there. So I'm going to come back in with some blues. I'm just going to come in and just try and straighten up that pole. It's a little bit bent on the way down, and we don't want a bent pole. I'm just going to try and do it by eye without mucking about with a straight edge. Still a bit bent in the middle, unless I'm going a bit silly. It could be an optical illusion, but I still think that's a little on the bent side. Never mind, if it is, we'll figure it out. Just going to come down here with a bit more light, a bit more white, a bit more pinky white, right on the edge of this mast, this line. Okay, that's nice and bright, and I think we've pretty much got that. I'm going to bring some of that light into the topsail and just bring some of that to the point here where it's picking up a bit more light on there. So let's just carefully put that in. Okay. There are very few light strokes that just catch in the light on the pole when they're pulling into the tautness of the edge of that piece of canvas. There's a few in there. I'm not too worried about counting them out and getting them all right, but that's not bad. How are we for time? We're 1/4 to 2 hours. How's everybody doing with this particular image? I come down and just block in this one here. Nice straight up on that line. Quite dark too. I've got it a bit too light, so I come in with a bit of blue just to really darken that, bit of umber. Just come back in and carefully just nice steady hand, straight edge, and down the side there. I've already put the dark in, but I think I got a little bit too blue, so I need to come in and put a bit of red to that. Right, so, and then of course the bit of the mast. Alright, now there is a very, and I don't know if I can pick this out very easily. I'm going to come in with a bit of that blue that we were using. Tap that into there. It's not the right colour yet, so let's just play around with that just a bit, just to get that pretty much there. What I want to do is just bring a little line, just tease it down Right, so just a little faint line. I'm going to do some up here too, but I need to change the blue just slightly to make that happen. So I'm going to come down and I'm going to bring a little bit of, there's not too much because we've got a different cloud structure, so let's come in with a bit of the more violety, dirty cloud colour we have been using. Let's just see, that should be about right. So again, do the same sort of thing coming down here. Like so. We've got a little bit down here which we've got to address in a moment. So that's coming down to a point there. I mean, I'm not perfect at this, but I really like to get these edges nice and sharp. So once again, we get a little bit of light coming down there. And further on down through here, as that's against the mast. We're going to put the mast in a bit later, not at the moment. Okay, I will put all ropes and stuff in that I feel that should go in a little later, probably the next session, as it were. Whenever that may or may not be, I don't know yet. Now that's quite light there, but I want to put in a bit more light red, and for that I have gone in for a little bit of cadmium red as well, just on this side. Let that come right the way into the boat here, and let's take that down. Follow this line nicely as it comes crashing down through there and below the line of the boat. You can't see where it stops or starts. I'm going to take this dark up and add a little bit more reds into the darks. I still need this to be quite dark in here. Lost a little bit. I actually got to make sure I'm going to put that down through there. There's my mast. I mustn't forget that. I'm likely to miss that. So now part of me wants to bring this up a little bit more. Keep looking at this and I keep feeling that this is not quite where it should be. When I get very, very fussy, and I can just take hours sometimes over getting something where it wants to be, and I know we don't have that sort of time, so I'm going to live with that until I'm unhappy with it. If I'm unhappy with it, then I will wait until you're not looking and I can get on and change what is. In the meantime, let's just plow on, and we're going to bring some lovely red vibrancy into this sail. And seeing that makes me want to sort of make some of this a little more vibrant up in here. I don't want to do too much, but just a little life into it. And maybe a little bit as this comes down this way too. There's not much because that's taken on a much different light source, as it were, than this side. I'll take that into there, take that down into that straight line. It's a lot shallower than I painted the dark, so let's get rid of that. Let's get rid of a lot of that, and let's come in here and round, block this area out altogether. We can tweak any little subtleties we want later. And then we've got a marrying of these two areas, so this is quite dark coming down, and it sort of gives way to the lights, as it were, like that. This is quite strong in here, as is the dark behind it, so that's quite strong there, but this just starts giving way at this point, and you can see the dark, but you can't quite see the dark, if you catch my drift. It's there, but it's actually becoming less important. So I quite like the way that's gone. And let's, while we've got this lovely red colour, let's just put that in. There is an angle boom or pole that comes on this mast, on this sail as well. Now you don't actually see it in the same way, it's not as evident, but it is there, and there is a little cast shadow where again the material is pulling tautly against it or over it because the wind is pushing onto it. I'm just going to come in with this colour, a little bit lighter here, but maybe a bit more red than I've given. There's actually quite a famous painter of Thames barges. I think it's pretty much, well, certainly maritime, but certainly pretty much all this particular gentleman paints. Do you know, I can't think of his name. I thought I had it and then it's gone. I started the conversation with you, now I can't recall it. But actually the reason I say it is that he actually owns Thames, well he did, I'm assuming he still does, I don't know for sure, but he owned Thames sailing barge Marjorie, I believe, and he is a very fine artist of these craft in his own right. So not only does he have the fun of sailing one and owning one, but he can darn well paint a good one as well. That doesn't get much better than that, does it? Makes one very jealous. I really did, as I said, I think I've said this story before, I won't keep repeating myself. I really did want to buy one once, and I was all set to do that, even talking to the boatyard that was selling them. And he just realised that when I was just a rank amateur and a wannabe, wishful wannabe, he put me off. He did the right thing, of course. He put me off. The right thing to do. I had no right buying into one of these vessels, not knowing the first thing about sailing or indeed keeping up one of these wonderful things long term. I was just very audacious, I think is the right word, even thinking that I could own one. I had this plan on living at St Catherine's Dock in London with owning one, and once in a blue moon taking it out when I could afford a skipper to run it for me. But hey ho. Anyway, I'll leave that part there. Just going to put in a little bit of the stern colour, which I love, this beautiful colour that is in. Oh, that's a little bit too strong there. So what do I need to temper that down? A bit of orange. Let's temper that down. The tad of orange into that. So we get a nice shake going up and a little bit going back there. And that is our stern painted in. Pretty much. Going to have to put a bit of dark into it at some point, but pretty much done. And where are we? Yes, let's go back to our darks. Let's go into a bit of blue. I'm painting with a small brush. I don't know why I do this and I forget to put the darn thing down. I'm just going to come in and block in the side of the vessel as it comes down along the water line. It's in an almost straight line because it goes into the back end. The keel is under there like so. And let's just put the bit that steers in, the rudder. I know. Philistine that I am. I'll shape up through there. Let's take this all the way along through here. Try and get a line about right. Doesn't have to be exact because of course water is moving along that line as well. So it's going to have a slightly jagged edge. It's not going to be ultra smooth. Often I see a painting done where there's an absolutely straight line to the water line. Of course, the water is going to be moving through, so you're not going to see it like that. So I'm going to put in the planing board. I don't know if that is the correct name. I think logically it sounds like it should be the proper name, but I do live to be told differently. I'm going to put that in anyway through there. Just check some of these lines. Like so. Take that line through the top, all the way through there, and start bringing it back up to meet the top of that part there. There's going to be some other changes into this. I'm going to put a little bit of blue into the side so it gets a little bit deeper. And a little bit of blue through the bottom area. Then I want to start bringing up a little bit of light where this part of the dark part of the hull is catching some sun. It's just got a little bit lighter, and then that goes to the dark as it gets to the water line, and where it's very, very wet or very, very dark. Now to get that very, very dark, we can use some of our transparent colours to achieve it. We could come in with a bit of this red and a bit of this blue and a little bit of the yellow there, and all of a sudden we've got a very punchy dark. And you can influence that, as I said earlier when I was telling you about the colours, we can influence which way that goes. So let's just put it in a dark, and hopefully you'll see exactly what I mean. Look how black that is compared to some of these other blacks. You can still even see it down through there, although it's becoming a little dissipated, but it is there. There's a little touch of light on the back of the rudder. I'll just put that down there. Just going to throw up the picture a little bit closer on my end so I can see a little bit of detail. If I can make this mouse go where I want it to go. Bear with me. Oh, there you go, super detail. And just what I wanted to do was just check Orinoco's colours. Now it's two types of banding and a little gold pinstripe and white, and I'm not going to manage the pinstripe, not by any stretch, but I'm going to try and put this line in as it comes through. It comes through all the way through, like so, and then it comes down into meeting that part of the transom there. Okay, that's that bit done. So now I'm going to try it, and if I can, for this I'm going to put that brush down. I'm definitely going to go for my rigger. A very fine small rigger, 0, which is really good. Now I'm going to come back in, just get some white working, a little bit of zested to make it move quite reasonably. Just check it on there and just put it around here. There's a little area there, and that actually disappears, stops about there. Okay, and then there is quite a large piece of white on the top here. Very much the same as that white we're going to put in any moment now. It comes down to a very small point, and just before that bow plane, so about there will be far enough. And then here again we have another piece. I can't quite see where that stops and starts. I'm going to leave that there for the moment and come back to it. Okay, quite happy with that. Now, if I can manage it, I don't think I can. This is a bit of an ask. I'm going to try and put a little wavy shape on the front there, just to suggest it. I'm going to be careful with the line now, and the little pinstripe that would represent the fact that this is Orinoco. And a lot of these barges have their own sort of shape, pattern and schemes. It's very, very suggestive. Not trying to get it actual, there's just no way I can do that. Very fine pinstripe line that runs all the way down her sides. Having put it in once, I'm now trying to slightly brighten one or two areas without going too berserk. Now you can see why they call this a rigger, because you can get these very fine lines. You get it right, get one in good condition, you can get these very fine lines with the oils. You're going to need it. You're going to start getting into this sort of detail. And I think that'll have to do it. And there is that little white line that runs beneath it, which many of the ropes are actually attached to. Now there is a name for this part and I have no idea what it is. Okay, it got a little bit heavy there. I'm just going to take a little bit out, a little bit wavy. Okay. Whew, glad that bit's done. I'm just going to put in a little bit of violet blue. I don't need that fine brush for that, but I will come back in with the next size that I was using. And just put a bit of violet colour onto the edge of that planing board, like so. I do stress that's indeed, that's what this is called. Like that. And because of that, there is quite a bit of dark top and bottom of it. So now there's a bit of influence of too much green going on there. Let's come back in there. A bit of that in there too. A little bit of, no, too much. And let's just come in with the darks that are above there, like that, and there. There's a shadow of something across there, and that's so. Alright, now I don't know how you feel, but maybe we should consider we're at 2 hours. I can leave it there, or we can come back. I can either leave it there and come back next week, continue it, or indeed I can just finish it off in my own time. But I can do a little bit more, and come on, my mouse thing is just not cooperating with me. That's better. Right, I'm just going to bring that little section of white through to where I want it, which is going to be from there to about to there. And then the bit that I've forgotten is on the back end of there is a bit of dark up there, and on that side too. Loving it. I really am enjoying painting this boat. I really am, got to be said. Let me just read some of the thing. Yeah, the sea is probably the easiest part, James, to be quite honest with you. It's one of those. Yes, the sea will be interesting. It is to vary the brush marks. Yes, it will be. There'll be a lot of sort of that going on with the sea when I finally get there. Where are we? Google says those boards are lee boards on Dutch barges. So I think that is okay. Lee boards. Okay, well, there you go. I call them, planing boards, but same sort of thing. All it is it allows the thing to stop going over, keeps it a bit like a keel, but without having a keel. They can be raised or lowered as needed. Bring it back next week. Okay, I think that's probably a good idea, John. I'd love to see more unless you're tired. Otherwise, I'd like to see you carry on with it next time. Your call. I'm here till you aren't. Well, I mean, I have done 2.5 hours before. I'm not going to get the final part done in that time. There's just no way. What I'm happy to do is just play around with this a little bit more and just see how we can make it all carry on a bit more. Let's see how we go. Anyway, I'm going to put in the light parts to the bit more fluid would help, but not too much. A little bit of yellow into that. So I'm just putting in the nice pine work that we see on there. I wanted this to be quite a quick painting. It's just not happening. A little bit of light coming down this one. There's a little bit of timber work there. And there are a number of people, I guess, during the race. These boats operate, I think, by taking paid guests or friends or whatever. When they do these races, it helps pay for some of the effort. And there seems to be several crew members at the wheel and one thing and another. Now there is a large post of some sort. I don't know what that is. I'm going to put that in because it gives me a guide to the wheel on the side there. Large wheel, center. So let's give it a bit of colour, a bit of a highlight, of orange into that. The light. Now let us. So I'm talking to myself. I do apologise. I don't like the way that's going. Let's take that out. Let's come back in with the dark again. And not try and paint a wheel, let's just try and paint the spokes in. One there, right next to the gentleman, and you can just see one out through there, and so on and so forth. I don't know what that post is, or pole, or whatever it might be. That is there, not a problem. And we have the thicker part of the base of this. Like so. And I'm going to leave that. There's people to put in, and I'm not going to try and put them in now. There's bits of deck detail which is appearing. There's a dark line over there. And I actually noticed that my sail comes too low for that little bit there. So I'm going to try and carefully put in a bit more blue. It may be better done when this was dry, but I'm going to come in with it anyway. There. I think we've done that, got away with that. Take that down to there. Just tidying up some of these shapes moving forward. Okay, not too, that's fine. Got a bit of light to put into the base of the sail. And through here, it's picking up some sun. So let's just come in with some pinkier colours. Stop painting my lights would be good. A little bit of light through here. Now I'm tempted actually, I'm going to take that wheel right the way out of it for now. I will come back in doing that once the painting is drier, I think, or I might just go for it a little later, but for the time being I'm going to take it out of the equation because it's just not working. I needed the background at this point to be, there's a curvature, there's the pull on the cloth at the base, and there's a curvature here which is catching, as I said earlier, that lovely sky colour, or at least the light from the sky. There are also different ropes and all bits and pieces and paraphernalia that are laying against the sail at that point. I just wanted to put in this sort of catching the light through here. Something like that works very, very well. And then I can just come back in and just put that light back in there, which has gone missing. Alright, okay. Where are we? Yes, good night Bramley. I think I'm going to call it a day. 2 hours and a quarter is long enough, I think, to keep you all going. I will keep this one going for next week, next Monday. So if you are happy about that and can bear with me, I will let this dry off. I will do nothing more to it, I promise you, unless something really is bugging me, which I hope I can leave it, but if I see something I may just alter a little bit. But I like the way it's going. I'm happy with the painting so far, and we will carry on, as I say, we'll carry on with it next week. For some reason there we go. Yeah, that's a very good point, Jean, and it's one, there are so many aspects, as I was talking to John on it earlier, there's so many aspects of how to run these lessons, these streams, because invariably, unless you're going to throw paint and do it in 10 minutes, or say, let me just paint a quick tree and show you that in 10 or 15, 20 minutes, or whatever it takes, doing a full painting of this nature does take time. It doesn't happen in 5 minutes, and you know, I would not want to do it in 5 minutes. I've got a reputation to maintain. I don't want to wreck it by putting out rubbish, really. It's just not what I want to do. But I will stop this here now, and yeah, we'll carry on. Does the paint dry out or deteriorate if left for a week? Well, this paint on the palette I will use up, James. It will not stay that way. I can do it. There are ways of doing that. I can actually immerse it underwater. Therefore, it can't oxidize because the air can't get to it. But I don't really want to do that. It takes forever to get it all the water out of the way so you can carry on painting. But I will carry on using this and probably lay out the palette again next week. But just bring the painting back into play for next week in very much the same way we are now. Just put it all together and finish it all off, I hope, and be done with it. There'll probably be even a little bit more work done next week on the sky, which I will welcome. So hopefully you'll join me back for that. Where else? I'd love to see the painting completed next time. It's going to happen. Good night, Brownlee. Good night, mate. Jim. Yeah, I'm going to carry it on next week. Hopefully you'll join me next week. on that one, Jim, and we can get this one knocked into shape and finished off. I'm enjoying it. It's a nice painting. It's going to turn out a bit of a cracker, I hope. Already I've made a bit of a boo-boo there. I've got a little bit of zest onto there. But while the paint is wet, easily repaired. That's all good, all done. So with that all said and done, people, thank you for joining me tonight. And hopefully you'll join me for a watercolour on Friday. And I'm not quite sure what that's going to be yet, but hopefully it'll be a little quicker than this one's going to be. And so I'm going to do a watercolour Friday, and I will do part 2 of this one next week, if you're still interested. If I get a heap of emails tomorrow saying, no, don't do it next week, don't do it, no, then you'll get something different. But otherwise, I'll do it next week. Leora, good evening. You were silently sitting on the side there. All right, Jim, not a problem, mate. I look forward to seeing you. Leora, say hello earlier next time. That's if you want to, of course. And Wendy, yeah, I'm looking forward to doing this more. I say I've really enjoyed it, but I might have got it done a bit quicker. It'd have been a small painting, but I just fancied doing a bigger one for you, and hopefully you got something from it. That would be fantastic. Thank you, Laura. That's very, very kind of you. I appreciate that very, very much. That's all welcome, and it all goes to help the funding of all the efforts of creating these videos. So that's very welcome, and I thank you. I'd love to be able to say, yeah, honest, Gene, I will do it next week. It's not a problem. The toughest part of doing this next week is keeping my hands off it during the week, because I'm excited about it, and I don't want to wait a week. I want to get it done. But I will stop and I will wait and I'll be patient, and I will might paint myself another one, different boat, similar sort of situation, maybe smaller. I have no idea, but I will promise to leave this one until next week, and I'll stick it up behind me, and I keep looking at it each day, and hopefully I keep my hands off it. But there you go. Yeah, you'll see me Friday, Derek, and also, of course, you'll see this finished off next week. Mark, thank you very much, mate. Appreciate that. The sales, I've got a bit more work to do on them, but they're getting there. They're getting there, and I'm enjoying the painting of them. I just love what's going on with this. So yeah, it's all good stuff. Well, at least I hope it's all good stuff. We'll keep on. Luke, good evening again, mate. Yeah, thank you very much. Where was your grandmother this week? I didn't see her tonight. She'll have to answer the question on Wednesday when I see her in class. But yeah, it's all good. It's all good. But okay, everybody. Well, thank you so much, and I'm probably gonna have to call it a day now. How about image of a stag, monarch of the Glen type thing? Maybe. I was thinking maybe of a baby elephant as a two-parter, and it might be that I have to do the sketch ahead of time because it's quite complicated. That could well take an hour and a half up on its own, so I might sort of plan it, do a rough sketch, and get that down, and then start the painting process in a couple of goes and do it that way. I'm not sure. I'll give that a thought, but and maybe a stag at some point in the same way, so that can happen. Good night, Luke. Good evening to you, mate. Take care. Have fun. Lovely spotting trains, I'm sure. Yeah, mate. Hey, while the sun shines, you'll soon be back to school, mate. So you're gonna have to get out there and see as many trains as you can in the short term. Let's clean off this palette, ready for my next painting, and use these colours. As I said to you earlier, that I'm experimenting with some of these colours anyway. That's why they're all on here. I don't always paint with such a big array of colour. I often bring, as many of my students will tell you, I often bring a colour in to my palette, try it a little while, see how I get on with it, and then I get rid of it, boot it out, or it stays, whatever. I go on and off colours, a bit like biscuits and stuff that I know I shouldn't be eating, but sometimes I'll eat a biscuit, I love it, and I go for more, and sometimes I get bored with it and stop. One of those. Baby elephant sounds great. Love to see drawing live. Well, I can try. It's just time more than anything else. Give it a go, and we'll see how we go from there. All right, so I think that pretty much sums this evening up. We're at 20 minutes past the 2 hours, and people are disappearing, so I probably think it's time that I said good night to everybody. And thank you for joining me. Don't forget the Patreon is available if anybody wants some extra content from me, and they're welcome to join and look at the Patreon. And yeah, don't forget next week's stream, and every Friday a new video. So lots going on. So join me for all of those, and in the meantime, have a safe, happy, productive week, everybody. And I'll catch you all on Friday evening. Take care. Bye. Oh, Diana, thanks for joining us. I did answer, if you're still there, I did answer your queries for Patreon. So I hope you got those and read those. But I did answer you and gave you a couple of suggestions. So hopefully something there ticks the bullet point for you. And hopefully see you there as a Patreon very soon. If you're not already, I haven't looked today, so I don't know. You may have already become a patron, but if it'd be lovely to have you on board if you are coming on board in that way. Yeah, Wendy, thanks ever so much. Take care. John, thanks, care mate. All the best. Thanks for joining us tonight. And bye to everybody else. I'm glad you made it, Diana.